Hi everyone, my name is Mike Mercado. I'm from Dremio and I'll be hosting this session. A few housekeeping items that I want to mention is that if you haven't downloaded the app, please download it and rate the session afterwards. And also please keep your cell phone on silent. The session is being recorded. And with that said, I'll hand it over to Remus Lazar.
Yeah. Hello, guys. Glad to have you here. My name is Remus Lazar. I'm responsible for not only software development, but the entire product management for watsonx at IBM. And wanted to talk to you a little bit about Iceberg, the importance of Iceberg, and the way we are seeing it both internally for us, the contributions we are making, as well as the commercial products we are having based on Iceberg and other open source formats. I probably should keep my mic on in my hand, right? Yeah. I'm not the type of guy that sits still. Yeah, probably. I'll hold it. All right. There are few ways of selling products or selling anything, right? There are all kinds of scare tactics that you can employ or define problems that we all agree commonly, and then I can sell you on that logic. But I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to ask a question, which is very fair. Why do people store data? Why do you store data? You store it primarily for getting insights, running your business better, try to understand what happened, things of that nature. Over history, which we made significant amount of money in IBM, on closed formats, the ecosystem is poor, and it gets expensive, and it gets very difficult for you to actually participate in a large scope of analytics and getting insights out of data. So about 3 years ago, as we are building LLMs, as we are moving in era of AI, we were looking for a lakehouse that we need to use internally to curate these humongous amounts of data sets that we need to train LLMs for. Like, the order of magnitude is incredible. And there were a few choices. One of them in open formats, one of them was Iceberg. And we deliberately chose it about 3 years ago. We started to invest around it. We are running significant parts of everything AI business in IBM, including from the ground up, including models, on lakehouses that start with Iceberg. The reason is what I told you before. It's really difficult to get into closed formats and benefit from the breadth of the ecosystem such that you can get out of that data set or even correct your mistakes. Like, in many times we make selections and selections are wrong. How are you going to recover, right? For us, it became one of the most important things that we chose as an engineering team, not as a corporation, as an engineering team, to rely ourselves into, such that we can have the flexibility and the ability to actually pivot, right? And we found many interesting stuff. But what I want you to remember is that we are not leeches. We are not going there just to leech out of the community, use it, and then try to, grab a good technology, try to make more money, right? Maybe some people in IBM will disagree with me, but as an engineer, I'm telling you right now, that's not what we are doing, that we don't have an interest into that. We do believe that the ecosystems around open source formats will be the future of everything you do in terms of execution, be it for AI, BI, interactive workloads, ELT, no matter what. It will revolve around open formats. It will revolve around stop moving your data. Stop changing your data 10 times to Sunday. I cannot give you the names, but we have these conversations with customers where they want to flip an entire software stack from one company to the other. The amount of money that they want to spend is, let's say, double-digit millions for the software stack. The amount of money they have to spend to migrate data from one place to the other, add another zero. That is the reality of the game today. That is the reality of everybody in the industry. I don't want to play that game anymore. I think we have a lot more problems to solve. I think we have a lot of things that we can work together on are much cooler than formats and things where we lock down the data to the point of where we squeeze the last ounce of dollars out of it. It makes no particular sense. So what do? We are working very closely with Iceberg, and we build a lakehouse around it. Three things I want you to remember is that we are actually contributing and working with Iceberg significantly for everything. We put a lot of real engineering work in the performance aspects as well as enterprise readiness. We need it. I know our customers need it as well. And everything we are doing, we are contributing back. If I go a little bit over the way we are building these things, we have three major philosophies. There are 5 things there, but in general, there are 3 things that I want you to remember. It's a fit-for-purpose engine choice. We are not relying on one engine. We are the only vendor right now on the market that embraces both Presto, as well as Spark, as well as vectorized databases, all working seamlessly integrated with each other. The reason is very simple. Price performance. Presto is our choice for interactive workloads. Everything you fit with BI, everything you have to fit in terms of point queries. We tend to find Spark incredibly useful when it comes down to data integration, ELT, and other type of workloads. That duality, it helps us significantly. And when you add AI workloads, you need geometrical searches, similarity searches, vectors in general. Moreover, we are investing heavy into 2 additional technologies versus Presto and Spark. One being Velox, which is developed by Meta. We are a heavy contributor in Velox, which is a C implementation of the Presto engine. And we are taking the same engine, the same Velox engine, under the name Gluten, and we are integrating it in Spark. The entire Gluten team moved to IBM from Intel. It's open source, and I don't know if Databricks guys are here, but I'm giving them a run for their money for their Photon engine. So the fundamental of open source engines right now is that in the era of high scalability of data, in the era of open formats, you need the choice of engines. The second point is we are strictly open formats. We default into Iceberg and Parquet. We are not allergic to Delta Lake. We are not allergic to Hoodie or on any other formats, but we default on Iceberg. Iceberg is our go-to open format. The third thing that is important to us is the ability to deploy on any cloud as well as on-prem. We are the only vendor that brings all of those together. We did it not because this adds complexity for everybody in the room that understands a multi-engine strategy. It's a really complicated one. That's where we spend 90% of our work. How do we simplify that complexity between Presto and Spark and all these beautiful things coming together? And we have this unified metadata and governance layer where this is ours, where this is not Unity catalog or anything like nature. I don't have an interest of open sourcing that, but majority of complexity are hidden on how these engines are talking to each other. Everything we do actually makes it back into the formats, makes it back into the engines. There is a layer where we keep from the metadata and governance perspective. This is what we try to achieve. Hybrid multi-cloud, open by design, so we don't try to, next time you have another engine, you want to blend it in, or you want to take just one engine from us, like Presto, like Velox. You don't have to change your current landscape. You use Databricks. We love Databricks. Use them. We can augment and work on the same data seamlessly. You don't need another transformation. It's just a separate engine for various workloads. Data security and governance, that becomes more and more prevalent. I don't know if in any of your use cases, but what we are trying to push is to make it as transparent as possible, because there are a lot of complications when it comes down to security. I don't know how many of you are exposed into stewardship and all that stuff inside your company. Is just ridiculous amount of time spending on boring stuff, but necessary from the compliance perspective. Optimal price performance, everything will boil down to this. It's the amount of money you spend for what you get. And a lot of people, the trade-off of simplicity will come here. You'll have a lot of choices you'll make in your life, including myself, where I give up on this one for simplicity, right? Sometimes, if we can make simplicity out of the box, this becomes an equation we can fight on. I think this requires a lot more help from everybody in the community to get Iceberg where it's supposed to be. And last but not least, we live in the era of hype, of AI, and a lot of workloads are starting to show up in that particular area. We need to prepare our lakehouses for that. There is no way that we can get away from it. And actually, I don't want to. Those are new type of workloads. They are useful. We are using it internally, but a lot of people in the space of data engineering right now, they take that as, okay, that's another task I have to do. No, we have to embrace it. There is no in between right now. And it's a lot of work that we have to do in that space. And I think we can have multiple conversations on it. We'll have other sessions going deeper into the AI readiness aspects of a lakehouse. This was our bet 3 years ago. This is what we standardized on when it comes down to everything internally. All our lakehouses, we have 300,000 employees, 300,000 employee signals coming from your laptop, coming from your mobile, coming from your travel, coming from everything. We need to process them. We have over 21 petabytes of employee data that we have to manage in a self-serve fashion. There is no amount of employees you can have to serve 300,000 employees inside IBM. That's pretty much it. We are all self-serve right now. And in order to do this, I had to work with my partners inside the CDO and CIO to build a couple of these lakehouses, and all of that was based on Presto and Iceberg. End of conversation. Like we use Spark for ELT, we use Spark for transformations. We are not doing anything, unnatural there, but the reality is what made us go over and be able to serve 300,000 employees was that combination. What did we set out to improve? Like out of this, we did build a commercial offering eventually, which is called watsonx.data. It's part of our strategy in IBM on the commercial aspects. But internally, we observe a few things. Everything initially around Presto and majority of the execution engine on the market was heavily relying on Hive. That was a de facto standard. Hive, how many people still would use Hive? Right? Almost everybody, right? How many committers and active contributions are happening in Hive right now? None. 0. It's dead. We cannot accept it's dead because we have no choice. So Iceberg came along. We needed to have that investment. The problem was that it was not on par. You couldn't actually use it initially. So we did a lot of work to add parity between Iceberg and Hive. And then you end up on the maturity conversation where you have a lot of things that Hive got over time, including the performance. Initial performance in Iceberg last year. And this is TPCDS 1 terabytes, scale factor 1,000. That was the delta. If you go over 100 terabytes, that fall off the chart completely from the Iceberg perspective. This is already committed back in open source. We are focusing significant amount of people doing this work to make sure that in April this year, is fresh numbers, we are ever so slightly behind Hive with a thriving community around Iceberg. This is where we wanted to be. And I think what I'm trying to say here, we are almost there. It's time. The point is time. The community should push, and people should start adopting on Iceberg and another execution engine, including Spark and Presto, and everything you see there. Hive is almost not important anymore. We still have work to do. We need to we need to keep working on the king. The king is remain SQL. A lot of people love pandas. I love pandas too, but I have to wake up 2 hours earlier to write stuff in pandas versus SQL. That's my experience. I don't know about you guys. And I'm a slightly older, so probably there are skills better than me on pandas and today. But for me, SQL remains king. Even today, I don't code that much. I hope I don't code that much. But I like when I get to SQL. I love when I get to SQL. I know I'm done with everything else that was a problem before that. So for that, we still have work to do with the community around things that we still need to do on Iceberg, including, scan planning, cache, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to read through all of that. I think the session is recorded, but we have unlocked a lot of the things we are using, and I know you don't like the name, but DB2 remains one of the most optimized database in statistics. We still have those people around. They are amazing, and they know what SQL means deeply. God damn it, we started the language. Larry managed to make it better than IBM could ever do. But we started the SQL language. We still have those people around. So we are working very aggressively, and we believe in it. A lot of these things are actually working. Everything goes back to open source. I want to put an emphasis on this. It's very important to understand that without Iceberg thriving, there is no way for the market to move at the pace we want the market to move on. For our jobs, for our money, for our next set of insights that we need to deliver. We are not new to open source. We've contributed to a lot of this, and we continue to do so. This is an open statement from me. Typically, IBM doesn't do this, right? I don't know when IBM communicated any of these numbers. This is the number of committers we have right now in open source for my area in .data. We strongly believe that unlocking the data potential, and you know that you guys will expect me to talk about how will IBM make money eventually. I'll tell you how. Unlocking the data potential for analytics, it comes down to workloads. You monetize on the workloads, not on the formats lock-in. Formats lock-in right now creates an ecosystem that is unhealthy. Unhealthy. We need to get away from it. That is why we do it. So I do have a vested interest. I'm not going to hide behind it. But reality is, internally, we tend to find that open source is 10 times more helpful than anything a group of 10 or a group of 12 can do together. What's next? We need to continue on performance optimization. I want to beat Hive at least to be half the time from what Hive is doing. There are a lot of things right now on the market that you guys hear about, merge and read, or I forgot about the other one. Exactly. We need to get crisp and clear on how that should work, and we are working with Iceberg community and a lot of other vendors in that area to get the adoption. Right now, it's a discrepancy. You'll find a lot of people having support for some, not supporting for the other. And we need to find a way to simplify it and actually make it as transparent as possible, right? We need deeper integration in AI and ML workloads. And obviously, I have a vested interest to go over the broader usage inside my company. And that's it. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, the booth is right here in front of the door. I'm going to stand there for the next hour. If you guys have any questions, I can explain a lot more what we do in details. Thank you.